Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter, World War I, World War II, and World War III, which is quickly coming upon us. And that's all you're hearing about in the news lately. What? War against Iran, that Israeli war against Hamas and them going into the Gaza Strip, the United States of America, deploying more forces into the Middle East, talks of Russia and China getting involved. You've got that situation with Taiwan, the situation in Ukraine, etc., etc. And World War III will also go nuclear. And this is all a part of biblical prophecy. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And we can truly see that that day is very nigh at hand. All these end time signs that we were told to look for in the scriptures, nations rising against nations, kingdom against kingdom, wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, one woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter, etc., etc., are either taking place or in the process of taking place as we speak. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. And this is speaking of those nuclear missiles. There had not been ever the like, because they came about very recently, beginning with those two atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during that second woe, World War II. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations, because when these nations go to shoot their nuclear missiles, every single one is going to be fired, and then after the dust settles, Yahushai, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, who had made his second coming by this point, along with the 144,000 who are fishers of men right now out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles online, are going to be hunters of men in that day with spiritual bodies, and they're going to begin enslaving the remainder of the heathen nations after this nuclear destruction. And we're never going to allow you to build weapons of war anymore. A fire devoureth before them, speaking of that warhead at the front of the missile, and behind them a flame burneth, the rocket booster at the back. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. The land looks normal, with cities, forests, people, animals, etc., etc. And behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. When those nuclear missiles hit their targets, the lands are going to be made a waste, like Fallout, Mad Max, or any other post-apocalyptic movie you can think of. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness, or ash, soot, people getting burnt to a crisp, Sarah Connor style, by those nuclear missiles, which it further expounds upon in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. So this is talking about all the heathen nations that have come against the children of Israel. The children of Israel, consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners that look like these heathen nations. And at the top of that list are the biblical Edomites, these so-called white people, especially in the United States of America, which is going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth by this nuclear destruction. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth, getting burnt by those nuclear missiles, gathering blackness. Again, think of that scene from Terminator 2 with Sarah Connor. She was holding on to that fence during that nuclear strike in that dream she had, and her skin, her eyes, her tongue, everything was literally ripped off of her skeleton. This is 2 Peter chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. And that heavens is talking about this current system of the heathens, chiefly of Esau, Edom, who is the top heathen ruling right now. Because in the scriptures, heavens and hell can be symbolic for a condition. When you're in rulership, at peace, you're in your heavens, and when you're in captivity, at the bottom, you're hell, which is where the children of Israel are. And when these nuclear missiles get to flying, there's going to be a role reversal. You heathens, chiefly you Edomites, are going to go into your hell, being slaves during the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven, building it up, and the children of Israel, beginning with the elect, who are going to survive this nuclear destruction, are going to be in their heavens, the first fruits in the kingdom. And in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And what's going to melt the elements with fervent heat and burn up the works in the earth? Those nuclear missiles during that third woe. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface a couple of articles showing that, hey, with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to World War III fully popping off and those nuclear missiles flying. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is getting these different nations ready for, this inevitable outcome. But the first article I'll be going to is on BBC.com titled, Russia says it rehearsed massive nuclear strike. And this was published 23 hours ago. So, a little less than a day ago. And Russia is going to be one of the major players during World War III. They're actually going to be the main nation that's going to lead these other nations in shooting nuclear missiles onto the United States of America. But before we go into that, let's read Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, which is the biblical name for Russia, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. And that's the Most High putting that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit back onto those Russian Edomites, which, we can clearly see with their military operation in Ukraine. And as we're about to read in that article, them rehearsing nuclear, weapon strikes. And also recently, Russia just left another one of those nuclear weapons bans treaties. And then Russia put the Satan II nuclear missile on that in the active military service. And it seems like every other day, Russia is throwing threats at the West, saying, if you keep getting involved with us, hey, we're going to throw those nukes at you. And all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, their military might, tanks, fighter jets, helicopters, soldiers, artillery pieces. And this is mainly talking about them being gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat in that Middle Eastern region or Western Asia for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the main part of World War III, which you can read further about in Joel chapter 3, verse 5, Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, talking about some of Russia's allies, which we clearly know Russia is Iran's top ally. And just recently you had Ethiopia plan on joining the BRICS and dropping the US dollar, and Russia has a lot of ties with Libya as well, and a lot of other those nations on the continent of Africa. Gomer, which is Turkey, which Russia and Turkey, contrary to popular belief, are close allies. And at some point, Turkey is going to completely abandon the West for Russia and all his bands, the House of Togarmah and the North Quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Point blank, period. Russia has rehearsed its ability to deliver a massive nuclear strike, the Kremlin says. The military exercise involved delivering a response to an enemy nuclear strike, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said. State TV showed him recounting the rehearsal to President Vladimir Putin. It comes as Russia's parliament backed the withdrawal of Moscow's ratification of a global treaty that bans all physical testing of nuclear warheads. And I will put hooks into thy jaws and turn thee back. And what was one of the main things that took place during the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union, the building up of nuclear arsenals and constantly testing them, and the looming threat of nuclear destruction, which back then it wasn't time for those nukes to fly, but now we are in those times for those nukes to be fired out of those silos. Russia and the United States conduct regular nuclear readiness simulations. Moscow has traditionally held its own towards the end of October. The exercises this year involve delivering a massive nuclear strike by strategic offensive forces in response to an enemy nuclear strike, Mr. Shoigu reported to President Putin. And remember this part right here where it says, in response to an enemy nuclear strike. A Kremlin statement said that practical launches of ballistic and cruise missiles had taken place. Now I'm going to jump to this part. Earlier this month, Mr. Putin said Russia had held a final successful test of a nuclear-powered cruise missile. The experimental weapon, first announced in 2018, was hailed as having a potentially unlimited range, but President Putin's account has not been independently confirmed. The latest tests will be seen as a display of force, which coincides with Moscow de-ratifying an international nuclear test ban treaty. Parliament completed the passage of a law that withdraws Russia's ratification of the treaty on Wednesday. Mr. Putin called upon ministers to back the change to reflect the position of the United States, which signed but never ratified the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, or the CTBT. The CTBT, agreed in 1996, bans any nuclear weapon test, explosion, or any other nuclear explosion anywhere in the world. Yeah, but since we're living in the last days, we're in the last seconds of these last days when all these prophecies are going to come to their fulfillment. Hey, you're seeing these major nations make moves to be geared up to shoot those nukes during that third woe. But now I'm going to go to this quick clip on the brother Saints of Jersey's YouTube channel titled, Putin says, if we don't strike first, we won't strike second either. And what did it say back in this article? That test was held in response to an enemy nuclear strike. So say, Russia gets hit first, they were so-called training to, respond to it. But let's see what President Putin has to say in this clip. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
По поводу угрозы ядерной войны, Светлана Геннадьевна, вы правы. Такая угроза нарастает, здесь что греха таить. По поводу того, что Россия ни при каких обстоятельствах не применит первый, но если не применит первый, ни при каких обстоятельствах, значит и второй тоже не применит, потому что возможности применения в случае нанесения...
Hey, regarding the circumstances of Russia not striking first, if it doesn't strike first, then it will not strike second either. Why? Because they get hit with those nukes first. That reduces their chances of them doing a retaliatory strike, which that's the case for, anything dealing with the nuclear weapons. If you get first, it's very unlikely that, you're going to be able to mount a sufficient retaliatory strike. And in the rest of this clip, Putin talks about how we don't have to worry about that because Russia is a limited target, or, nukes are never going to fly or whatever. But you got to read in between the lines by Putin saying if we don't strike first, we won't strike second either. And he's saying when it comes down to it, Russia is going to handle that business first, which, like I was saying earlier, Russia is going to be the main nation to lead these other nations on shooting nuclear weapons onto the United States of America. And also, that Satan II nuclear missile, which Russia just put into active military service, isn't solid fuel based, but it's liquid fuel based. And when you look up the differences between a solid fuel based nuclear weapon and a liquid fuel based nuclear weapon, liquid fueled nuclear weapons are made that way because they're primarily used for first strikes. So, hey, everything is perfectly lining up. That's it with this clip. Now I'm going to go to an article on RT.com. Hey, because not only is Russia getting ready, but China, Russia's one of their top allies, getting ready as well. And they are going to shoot nukes onto the United States of America. China rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, says the Pentagon. Beijing now has 500 nuclear warheads and will double that number by 2030, a new report claims. And with the way things are looking, and Abaratazai we don't, hey, it's looking like we ain't going to make it to 2030. These things are going to happen, much sooner than that. There's a very good chance, Akim, we will be in the kingdom by 2030. China's nuclear arsenal is growing faster than the U.S. previously predicted, according to a Pentagon report delivered to Congress on Thursday. The information comes as lawmakers in Washington insist upon American readiness for simultaneous wars with Russia and China. In the latest China military power report, military officials claimed that China possessed more than 500 operational nuclear warheads as of May, 100 more than it did a year beforehand. By 2030, the report continued, China will likely have over 1,000 operational warheads. And if they exceeded expectations now, what's to say they won't exceed those expectations way before then? A couple of years ago, it was revealed that China had built 100 nuclear missile silos in a desert somewhere. While the past two China military power reports have also pointed to 2030 as the year China passes the 1,000 nuke threshold, Pentagon planners previously thought it would take longer for the Asian superpower to reach 500. Over the next decade, the People's Republic of China will continue to rapidly modernize, diversify, and expand its nuclear forces, the report stated. Compared to the People's Liberation Army's nuclear modernization efforts a decade ago, current efforts dwarf previous attempts in both scale and complexity. Beyond the headline figure of 500 warheads, the precise details of China's nuclear program are more vague. The Pentagon report noted that Beijing will probably use its latest fast neutron reactors to produce the plutonium needed to expand its arsenal, and probably completed the construction of its 3 new solid propellant silo fields in 2022. China has also fielded new silo-based and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, the latter of which can reach the continental United States from Chinese waters, the report claimed. And hey, those missiles are going to reach the U.S., as well as the other missiles being fired from not just Russia and her allies, but the allies of the United States of America who are going to turn against her at some point during World War III. And they're all together going to shoot 200 million nuclear missiles onto the U.S., which is going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. So with that article, but now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to read 17 on down, and the header reads, Babylon will fall to the Medes. And while the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire was taken down by the Medo-Persian Empire, with Darius the Mede conducting a surgical strike against the leadership of Babylon at the behest of King Cyrus. This isn't talking about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire, nor the ancient Medes. This is talking about Babylon the Great, the virgin daughter of Babylon, the United States of America, and the modern-day Medes, the spiritual Medes, Russia, and the ancient Medians were of the nation of Japheth, who are today, your so-called Pacific Islanders or Polynesian people. And that land of Russia was originally inhabited by the Japhites, but now it's inhabited by the Edomites, those Russian Edomites. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, the Russians, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. When the time comes for those Russian Edomites to turn those keys and launch those nukes, no FRN notes, cryptocurrencies, literal gold and silver, or peace treaties or nuclear weapons bans are going to stop them from fulfilling biblical prophecy. What did we just read in that first article? It comes as Russia's parliament backed the withdrawal of Moscow's ratification of a global treaty that bans all physical testing of nuclear warheads. They shall not regard gold nor silver. Verse 18, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. So everybody in America that is not of the elect of the nation of Israel is going to be burned up by those nuclear weapons. Young, old, man, woman, and child, etc., etc. This goes to show that this isn't talking about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire, because when Darius the Mede did his strike, he took out the leadership. He didn't wage a great slaughter against the inhabitants of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Verse 19, and Babylon, that virgin daughter, Mystery Babylon, the United States of America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and Sodom and Gomorrah was overthrown with fire and brimstone from the sky. And this modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be overthrown with modern fire and brimstone, those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. And besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, when you go to Revelation 11, verse 8, the United States of America, That great city is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, and we can clearly see why the U.S. is known as spiritual Sodom. This is the number one nation that pushes that alphabet lifestyle, beginning with LG onto the rest of the planet, from its social media, Hollywood, its geopolitics, and its economic policies as well. Hey, that lifestyle has infiltrated, every aspect of American society. Verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. And that's another cut to this, supposed to be talking about ancient Babylon, because ancient Babylon is where? In modern day Iraq, which people are still dwelling there to this very day. When America is hit by those nuclear missiles, hey, after the dust settles, man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again. And after a time, only desert creatures are going to dwell here, as it's about to say. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And the owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And with so much information coming out talking about World War III and nuclear destruction, we can see that Babylon, America's time is very near to come, and her days are no longer being prolonged. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akiyame and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, primarily from Babylon, the United States. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.